Well, it's in the book. I understand that. I read a huge portion of the book this afternoon. It reads like a novel. It's a terrific read. But one thing bothers me. You quote George Tenet in the book, and you claim that he went back over to Langley with the cream-colored piece of stationery. Did you interview George Tenet while you were writing the book?
Well, you know, I've been with George Tenet a long time. I've talked to him many times. I talked to him a lot for the last book. Tenet is a guy who sometimes gets confused. He doesn't remember Slam Dunk. He doesn't remember testimony before 9/11. In this case, I went to the participants, the people involved, near Tenet, below, around Tenet, who were the folks moving forward, executing the plan. They have great memories. They always have. They keep day books. They keep journals. And they, well, it's indisputable. It did occur. People know it all the way through the chain. It popped up on the other end. It roiled the global news cycles. It clearly was a CIA operation, and this is the important part, ordered by the White House.
But you never.
And that's why it makes it so tricky.
You never asked the DCI, you never asked the Director of Central Intelligence Agency point blank, George, did you transport a cream-colored piece of paper to Langley after your meeting at the White House?
For a lot of reasons, I went to really reliable sources. And to be frank about it, at this point, George, as reporters in town know, is not the person you call for anything in terms of memory. Even a short time ago, much less 5 years ago, he doesn't remember wide swaths of almost anything. In this case, we dealt with people handling the situation, who remember with great vividness what George says, what they did, the moment of passage, and down the chain. And that's why the book has such strength, is because you can see clearly that this was an operation, and people are quoted fully based on their personal knowledge.
It does. There's no doubt about it. And in reading the book, I have to tell you, in reading all your stuff, I admire all of your stuff, but in reading this book and these charges that have laid out here, and because of my background covering like city stuff and everything for years, I can't help but come to the conclusion at the end of this book is basically charging the President of the United States or the Vice President of the United States with being an accessory before the fact to 4,000 murders and more in Iraq. They lied us into war, according to this book.
Well, the book lays out the evidence step by step, all the way to that point in early January 2003, mind you. This is important. Weeks before the President's State of the Union address and a month before Colin Powell goes to the UN, that we are meeting with the Iraqi intelligence chief in a secret location, a back channel. He tells us, hey, there's no WMD, and also here's the mind of Saddam Hussein. Here's why he's not worried. He's worried about the Iranians and being shown he's a toothless tiger. All of this is clear later, demonstrable to the world. We know it well before the war. The head of British intelligence, again on the record, says, you know, the U.S. was, well, moving forward like a runaway train. This was the British version of let's stop this thing. We don't stop it. We ignore the intelligence chief. We then, of course, have a real problem. We put him into hiding, Mike. We pay him $5 million from the U.S. government. We've hidden him for 5 years. Of course, he still remains the Jack of Diamonds in Bush's deck of most wanted men. There's a $1 million reward for this fellow Haboosh. And it has really been the smoking gun, best-kept secret of the United States government. And it's one that shows clearly a lack of faith in the basic principles of democracy in terms of transparency and especially accountability on this most august issue of war. And that's why, of course, everyone is buying it and reading it, and everybody is, congressional investigators are lining up to say, this is indisputable. The evidence is here. Let's get people under oath with subpoenas, and let's finish this. The book is actually very hopeful. It says we need to embrace truth before this era ends if we're going to move forward cleanly and with vigor, with a kind of moral energy that has been bled away. You talk about 4,000 deaths. Well, the fact is, what the book is about is how over these years America has lost its moral authority and how people are struggling to get it back now in this year of consent.
Ron Suskind, thanks very much. The book is The Way of the World. It reads like a novel. Up next.